My boyfriend's boss drove me home after the company party. Subscribe for more stories. I never imagined my evening would end like that. My boyfriend's boss offered me a ride home after a company dinner. Something simple, polite. But what happened on the way left me stunned, questioning everything I thought I knew about myself and him. Before I dive in, where are you reading this from? Share your city, and let's see how far this story travels. Now, here's what really happened. The night had that warm, electric buzz that lingers after a great evening. It was my boyfriend Ryan's company dinner at a chic restaurant in Midtown Seattle. Dim lights, fancy cocktails, and the hum of quiet conversations mixed with clinking glasses. I wore a sleek navy dress that made me feel confident, alive. At 25, I don't often get to dress up like that. But that night, I felt every eye on me. Ryan had too much to drink, as he often does at these events, and left with a co-worker who lived nearby. He kissed my cheek and mumbled, "Elliot will drive you home." He offered. I glanced over and saw Elliot, Ryan's boss, by the entrance, jacket slung over his arm, calm and collected. Elliot was a few years older than Ryan, but he carried himself with this effortless confidence. His dark hair was flecked with gray, but it only added to his charm, like every detail about him was intentional. We'd barely spoken at dinner, just some small talk and a shared smile over a bad toast. But there was one moment when his gaze lingered on me, just a second too long. As we walked to his car, the chilly Seattle air hit my shoulders. Elliot noticed and draped his jacket over me. It smelled like sandalwood and something warm. I thanked him softly. He opened the car door for me, a small gesture that made my pulse quicken. The ride started out normal. Soft jazz played on the radio, and the city lights danced across the windshield. We talked about the dinner, the company, Ryan's work. Then the conversation shifted. "You looked stunning tonight, Claire," Elliot said, eyes on the road. His voice was steady, but the air felt heavier now, charged. I paused, caught off guard. "Thanks," I said carefully. "That's kind of you." Silence settled in, comfortable at first, then heavy. I could feel something brewing, unspoken. "I've always wondered," he said slowly, "how someone like you ended up with Ryan." I blinked. "What do you mean?" He glanced at me briefly. "No offense to him. You're just present, vibrant. You have this energy, and Ryan doesn't always seem to notice it." I didn't know how to respond. My hands fidgeted in my lap, my heart racing, not from fear, but from the way his words hit something I hadn't acknowledged. We stopped at a red light. He looked at me. Really looked. "Has anyone told you lately that you're worth noticing?" My breath caught. I shook my head. "Not in a while." The light turned green, but he didn't move right away. "Mind if we take the scenic route?" he asked softly. "I could use the company, and maybe you could too." I should have said no, insisted on going straight home. But his tone, open, not pushy, made me nod. "Okay," I whispered. He turned onto quieter streets, the city fading into tree-lined neighborhoods. The silence wasn't awkward. It felt like something was unfolding between us. "You don't have to answer this," he said after a while. "But are you happy, Claire?" I stared out the window, my reflection faint in the glass. I'd spent so long keeping things together, work, Ryan, our routine, that I hadn't asked myself that question. "I don't know," I admitted. "I think I stopped wondering." Elliot nodded, like he understood more than he should. He pulled into a small park, just a few benches under streetlights. We didn't get out. He turned to me, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on his knee. "I've been there," he said. "Going through the motions, feeling alone even when you're not. That's when I felt it. Not desire, not yet, but connection. Something real. I didn't think anyone saw that part of me, I said, my voice shaky. He smiled gently. Sometimes it just takes one person who does. We sat there, two people who weren't supposed to feel this way, caught in the glow of the streetlight. Nothing happened, no touch, no line crossed, but something had shifted. When he finally drove me home, the quiet felt different, heavier with possibility. At my apartment, the lights were off. Ryan wasn't home yet, no surprise. Elliot slowed the car. "I can wait with you," he offered, "until he's back." I hesitated, knowing how it might look, but the thought of walking into that empty apartment alone felt unbearable. "I'd like that," I said. We sat in the dim car. The world outside paused. "I hope I didn't overstep earlier," he said. "I just couldn't stay quiet when I saw you hurting." "You didn't," I replied. "You were honest. That meant more than you know." He looked at me, not as Ryan's girlfriend, but as me, Claire, a woman with her own story. "Do you ever miss being touched?" he asked. "Not just physically, but emotionally. Like you matter?" The question hit deep. "All the time," I whispered. I just stopped admitting it. We sat in that thick, understanding silence. "If I were Ryan," he said softly, "I'd never let you go to bed without knowing how incredible you are." I couldn't speak. His words settled in, heavy with truth. Then I did something bold. I reached over and placed my hand on his. It was small, barely a touch, but it felt like a door opening. He turned his palm up, holding my hand gently. That was it. No kiss, no boundary crossed. But when he walked me to my door and waited until I was inside, I felt seen in a way I hadn't in years. I didn't sleep that night. Ryan stumbled in past 2 a.m., crashing on the couch. The next morning, he barely looked up from his coffee. "Sorry about last night," he mumbled, got carried away. I nodded, but he didn't ask about my night, didn't mention Elliot. The silence between us felt wider than ever. Days later, I got a text from Elliot. Lunch? No pressure, just company. My stomach fluttered. I met him at a cozy cafe in Capitol Hill, a place with warm bread and only a few tables. He stood when I walked in, his eyes lighting up. "You look beautiful," he said. I didn't argue. I felt it. We talked about books, life, the way time moves faster now. He told me he'd lost his partner years ago, hadn't dated much since. I shared how Ryan and I used to laugh constantly, but now it was just routine. He listened, really listened. "Sometimes," he said, "we mistake comfort for love, thinking if we're not hurting, we're happy." His words lingered. "Do you think we can still find real connection at our age?" I asked. He smiled. "Connection doesn't care about age. It just needs honesty." We stayed long after our plates were cleared, no touches, just warmth. But when he walked me to my car, something shifted. Our eyes locked, and our foreheads touched briefly, hesitantly. His hand grazed my arm, mine his cheek. We didn't kiss, but it felt like the start of something. "Claire," he said, "I care about you. If you ever want more than words, I'm here." I nodded, throat tight, and drove home. Ryan was on the couch, TV on, beer in hand. "You were gone a while," he said, eyes on the screen. "Lunch with a friend," I replied. He didn't ask who. That moment clarified everything. I could disappear and Ryan wouldn't notice, but Elliot did. I had a choice: stay in this quiet routine or step into something real, terrifying, alive. The next week, I told Ryan I was visiting my sister in Tacoma. He nodded, unbothered. I spent one night with her, laughing over wine. "You seem different, Claire," she said. Lighter. I smiled. I'm remembering who I am. The next day, I drove back to Seattle, ending up near that cafe. I didn't plan it, but I walked to the park across the street. There was Elliot reading on a bench. He looked up, not surprised, but soft, like he'd been waiting. "I didn't expect you," he said, closing his book. "I wasn't planning to come," I replied. He stood. "But you did." I nodded. "I'm not here for promises I can't keep." "I wouldn't ask you to," he said. A breeze moved my hair, and he tucked it behind my ear, his touch warm. "Claire," he said, "I see you, not as someone's girlfriend, but as a woman who deserves joy every day." "I'm not used to being chosen," I whispered. "Then let this be the first time you choose yourself," he said. We sat on the bench talking for hours. Pasts, hopes, quiet dreams. No pressure, just presence. When he walked me to my car, I said, "I need time to figure this out." He smiled. "Take all the time you need. I'm here." That night, I came home to Ryan asleep on the couch. I covered him with a blanket, looking at the man I'd loved, maybe still did. But love isn't just habit, it's choice, attention. For the first time, I was choosing me. Lying in bed, I didn't feel guilt or sadness. I felt alive. And in the quiet, I smiled. This was just the beginning.